It's time for this week's Parting Shots.
There are players at the University of Texas who no longer wish to stand after games for the school's song, The Eyes of Texas, as its origins point to a minstrel show. This has spurred controversy to the point where enough band members refuse to play the song that there wouldn't be enough instrumentation to perform as a unit. Texas football coach Tom Herman says he expects players to remain after games for the song, but won't force them to do so. In his newsletter, athletic director Chris Del Conte said, in spite of differences about the song, quote, "Rest assured our student athletes love and respect this university very much." What's striking is the demand that players show appreciation for the school that doesn't pay them and fans who don't care about their legitimate concerns. The Eyes is being treated as sacred. Appreciation must be shown one way, and that way isn't optional. This mirrors conversation about the national anthem in sports, which makes it clear it isn't really about either song. What offends fans is any pushback against racism from those who are there to entertain them. Texas could choose a different song and fans would love it, because the love is about Texas and not the song. Find something the players and fans can get behind. Football players are expected to tolerate as much indignity as white people deem fit. Why should the players appreciate a place like that?
On Thursday, Major League Baseball delivered its inaugural Curt Flood Award to Hall of Fame outfielder Andre Dawson. The honor highlights player advocacy, Floyd's most impactful contribution. Good for baseball and beyond deserving for Dawson, but it brings to light a more glaring issue. Flood was a standout center fielder on two St. Louis Cardinals championship teams in the 1960s. Yet Flood's actions 51 years ago this month literally changed the course of history. The seven-time Gold Glove winner refused to honor a trade to Philadelphia in 1969. Simply put, as he told then-Commissioner Bowie Kuhn, he was not a piece of property who could be moved at the whim of management. Following Muhammad Ali's refusal to report to Vietnam in 1967 and John Carlos and Tommy Smith's fist at the 1968 Olympics, Flood's act of defiance was the third transcendent decision by a black athlete in as many years. The move shook baseball to its core and ultimately ended Flood's career. 6 years later, pitchers Andy Messersmith and Dave McNally's successful arbitration helped begin free agency. A victory that would have never been possible without the seeds Flood bravely planted. Curt Flood's sacrifice is a direct tie to the mammoth contracts and mobility in today's game. The story of Major League Baseball cannot and should not be told without Flood. I'm one of many folks who have long called for his Cooperstown induction as a contributor. Yet I'd venture to say the Hall needs Flood more than Flood's legacy needs the Hall.
75 years ago this week, the Brooklyn Dodgers signed Jackie Robinson, the most important event ever in American sports. 2 years later, Robinson would win the NL Rookie of the Year award and star at first base for the Dodgers in the World Series. Also playing for the Dodgers in that 7-game World Series against the Yankees, Dan Bankhead, the first black pitcher ever in the majors. Now, 73 years later, there is precisely one black player in the World Series. He's arguably the best player on either roster, one of the best players in the game, Dodgers right fielder Mookie Betts. How did we get here? It's like what Hemingway said about going broke. It happened gradually, then suddenly. From a peak of 18.7% in 1981, African-American representation in the majors is now at 7.5%, or just 1 out of every 13 players. That's the lowest figure since 1958, when Hank Aaron and Willie Mays were in their 20s. In the last quarter century, baseball has tried to reverse the trend, to no avail. This year, on opening day, 3 major league teams had no African-American players on their rosters. 14 had 2 or fewer. There were also just 2 African-American managers, Dusty Baker of the Astros and Mookie Betts' manager, Dave Roberts. All these years after Jackie Robinson changed baseball and changed sports and changed America, if baseball wants to maintain its place in our culture, its status as the national pastime, it needs to find a way to change again.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.